I'm Astrologer Penny Dix. Welcome to my in-depth look at this month's new moon in Gemini. Now it's on the 6th of June and it's at 16 degrees and 17 minutes and it's conjunct our planet of relationship, of love, of attraction, of self-worth, of the feminine, Venus. And it's at 12:37, that's universal time. Let's get our chart up straight away because this is a rather interesting new moon. Not your normal kind of run-of-the-mill, let's make my intentions kind of new moon. Let me manifest all those wonderful things into my life. This one has some tricky aspects. Let's get that chart up. So Jerry, the chart. I love doing that. Oh, right, okay, so now you should be able to see over my left shoulder the new moon in Gemini. So, as I said, it's conjunct Venus, and we've got some other interesting energies around it. So let's unpack them stage by stage, because first of all, we need to think about the sign of Gemini. What does it represent? What does it bring into our lives? Because it's an air sign, it's about communication, it's the third sign of the zodiac, it's very mutable, it's flexible, you think of Gemini people, it's difficult to tie them down to one subject for very long. They'll be onto the next topic and onto the next topic, and then most probably questioning you about what you think about that particular topic. And then before they wait for the answer, they'll tell you what their answer is. Get the picture? That's kind of what it's about. So how can we best use this mutable, airy atmosphere and energy to take us further along the path that excites us and fires up our passions? That is the question. Well, first of all, we are still in the energy of Jupiter, my big boy Jupiter, newly arrived in Gemini, and at the moment it's at 2 degrees and 42 minutes, and it's still, of course, making a lovely aspect, a trine aspect, which is helpful to the planet Pluto, which is retrograde in Aquarius. Now, let's just have a think about this first, because this kind of sets the scene. We go into June with this lovely energy of Jupiter trining Pluto. Pluto helps us transform things. Pluto can help us find our inner power. It can help us find our ways to cope with the shadow side of our nature, because it's so important that we understand our own shadow. We often see it operating in other people, but we're not always so aware of how we may be actually expressing our personal shadow. And Jupiter is expanding the energies of Gemini for communication with the self, to really empower us to understand what our own shadow is telling us and what we can learn about ourselves. And this is all at the beginning of June. In the first, 6th of June is the new moon. So in the first 6 days, we've got this lovely trine energy. Now, the only problem with the trine and with Jupiter in what we call its detriment in Gemini, because what that means is it's in its fall. It's in the opposite sign to the sign that it rules. So Sagittarius is the opposite sign of Gemini. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Sagittarius is mutable, but it's fire. And Jupiter is a fire planet. So you've got this fire in an airy atmosphere. Now, either the air becomes a wind and blows out the flames of the fire, or it fires us up. Now remember, astrological energies are neutral. How are you going to use these energies of this particular new moon and this build up over the first few days of June? So bearing that in mind, so Jupiter is in its kind of weakest position, if you like, whilst it's in Gemini. But it still has those qualities of luck, opportunity, expansion, excitement. But it's just that it can be a little bit kind of, we sit back and we kind of think, it's okay. I'll sort it out tomorrow. It'll all be fine. And maybe it will be. But my sense is for us to use the energy of Pluto, which is ever so slowly creeping its way back to Capricorn, to remind us of the lessons that we still maybe haven't mastered from its time in Capricorn over the last 15 odd years, okay? So we need to make sure we don't sit back on our laurels. We need to find a way to take action. So one would think, well, this new moon is the new moon to do it. It's a new moon. It's about new intentions. We have Venus conjunct the sun and the moon in a superb position to add a little bit of flirtatious flavor to the energy. And also what's interesting is Venus is in a position where it's actually going to disappear from our sight. Because there are certain times when it goes behind the sun in its orbit. Remember, it's orbiting around the sun, as are we, but it's kind of got very close to the sun from our perspective on Earth, and we're losing sight of it as it moves behind the sun. Let's just think of this very simply, symbolically. What might you be losing sight of? The sun is the masculine, and it's about our soul, our very being. It's about our health, our heart chakra. Venus is also, you could say, the heart chakra because it's about love and relationship, but it's also about luxury. It's also about value. It's also about what we feel we can afford or what we would like to attract into our lives, the passion that we have for particular topics and subjects that we want to bring into our lives. So Venus disappears from our sight, and yet her power is kind of there behind the sun, which is linked with the new moon, because obviously the moon becomes invisible to us when it is so close to the sun, which is why we call it the dark of the moon, and it kind of goes into a few days where we don't see it, and then the new moon is when that thin sliver of silver appears from the sun. So think about what is lost from your sight. Link that in with the Jupiter energy trining Pluto. What are you sitting back and not tackling? What might you be thinking you would like to initiate but procrastinating about it? What might you be not doing in a relationship where the relationship may need a little bit of nurturing. You know, Venus rules Taurus, a very earthy sign, a sign of luxury, value, of the earth goddess, of Gaia. So, I mean, Venus will come out back into the light, but whilst Venus is in this position, I think it's just very interesting to think of the symbolism of what is lost from your sight. Is it something to do with you? Is it something to do with another? Is it something to do with your work, with your children? Have a think about what you might have lost sight of. Now we come to another very interesting aspect, because Saturn, my other big boy, or one of my other big boys, our planet of restriction, of containment, of boundaries, makes a T-square. That means it's like a hard square to both the sun and the moon. And in fact, it doesn't make a T-square. Excuse me, I'm not going back and starting the video again. It makes a hard square. So that's one of these. And it makes a hard square to the new moon. I had in my mind full moon. My brain runs ahead of me sometimes, but we're in Gemini energy. So isn't it interesting that I act out the Gemini kind of qualities and run ahead with my thinking, and I don't stay grounded in the present with what I'm doing? So let me come back to Saturn square the new moon in Gemini, because Saturn is currently in Pisces and it's slowing down because Saturn is going retrograde at the end of June, on the 29th to be precise. So there's something about this new moon which is telling me that all these ideas you have, these plans you have, that you would like to initiate and that are just out of sight if they are in some way linked to the Venusian energies. It's a little bit like saying Saturn is putting the brakes on. You know what Saturn does? It goes, no, 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 not yet. The timing is not yet right for what you might be planning to do. Keep that in the forefront of your mind so that if obstacles and problems appear, take them as timely gifts from the cosmos. They are gifts saying, this is not the right time. As your guide and kind of all-round kind of cosmic energy, I would like to suggest that you give this some more thought, Gemini. Maybe you need to sit down and reflect on it, which is not falling back into the Jupiter energy of sitting back and just luxuriating in what you might get on with. It's actually being proactive in a kind of non or inactive way, so that you make your plans, that you take your time to make your lists. I made a few points that I think we need to be aware of, and I'm just going to run through these points because I really do feel around this new moon that it's very important to keep flexible with everything and anything that comes up for you. Keep your thoughts and your ideas realistic. Be open to plans that change, because they will be changing for the right reasons. Don't go, whoa, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. Go with it. Go with the flow of the changing plans. See every obstacle as a gift. Be responsive and not reactive. Keep your frequency on a very high vibration. Also, I think it's really important, and this really goes for just life in general. And as we start to really get the benefits of Pluto in Aquarius, which will come towards the end of this year, and we recognize that our whole kind of core intuitive consciousness is being, let's say, upgraded, that we need to avoid situations and people that bring toxicity and negativity into our lives. You know, it's okay to change your friends. It's okay to say no. It's okay to take better care of yourself and watch your boundaries. Think of that Saturn squaring this new moon. Keep your boundaries. Keep your friends close. And maybe actually in this instance, don't keep your enemies close. Let them go and do what they want to do. Be free of them. It's not your business. What they think of you is not your business. You've all heard that one. Let them go. Let it go. So during Gemini season, it's important to be responsive and not reactive. And as I said, it's a tricky new moon, and I want to tell you about one more aspect which I will have talked about in the live that I'm doing or have done on Sunday night, because by the time you see this, I will have recorded the live. But I'm actually recording this on Sunday afternoon before I do the live, so it all gets a little bit strange. Mars, and if you look at the chart, Mars is about to move. It's at 28 degrees in this chart of Aries. Now Mars rules Aries, so it's very comfortable there. And Mars on the 11th moves into Taurus and squares Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. This happens every 2 years, because it takes Mars about 2 years to go around the zodiac. But this is Earth to air, and Mars in an Earth sign gets bogged down, gets hot under the collar. You know, Taurus is about the bull. So the bull is very fixed, is not going to be moved. Mars wants action. Mars wants to move. So if Mars gets that bull moving, you don't want to be in its way. So around the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, let's put those dates in. Be very mindful to be responsive and not reactive. Avoid crowded places, especially in parts of the world where protesting has been going on or rioting is going on. Just keep a low profile. There's some, don't react. Don't play the game. It's so easy. We forget so quickly to take a step back and think, I must breathe. I must not react to this situation or something that has been said to you or written to you. If it's written to you, it's easier. You have time to think about it instead of going and sending your reply angrily. Please don't do that. Please don't do it. You'll regret it. Because remember, Pluto can be about endings. So Mars can bring some untimely endings. Mars can bring accidents with this kind of energy and aggressive behavior, and you don't need to invite that into your lives or be around that kind of energy. So just be mindful of that, because these first 2 weeks of June, even though on the surface it looks quite kind and gentle and helpful energy. I mean, we've got Mercury is going to whiz through Gemini and be in Cancer before we know it. Mercury being our planet of communication. So, you know, there's a lot of good energy and interesting planets, if you like, in Gemini at the moment. But with this Saturn square to the new moon, you need to really be kind of, you need to keep your intentions, your manifestations, your desires realistic. And remember, if you come up against blocks, respect them, slow down. What you have to do is make Saturn, remember the planet of boundaries and timing, you have to make Saturn your friend. Go, okay, Saturn, and I'll just quickly tell you why. Saturn currently, make Saturn your friend anyway, wherever it is, but Saturn is currently in Pisces. Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, and it is very much about spirituality, connecting with these higher frequencies, connecting with star beings, if you like, connecting with a kind of higher consciousness within ourselves, our psychic awareness, our intuitive awareness. Now, Saturn in Pisces is trying desperately to put some structure into what is very nebulous and spills over all over the place. So Saturn needs to be your friend, and especially with this new moon. So that's why I'm saying, if you have this wonderful idea that you want to launch, but you're finding it difficult, listen to what the cosmos is telling you. Saturn is saying it's not the right time. Wait, the sign will come to tell you when it is the right time. So just be mindful of that, and you will navigate this new moon beautifully. And then that Mars square Pluto will be easy peasy. You'll easily manage to respond to what's going on around you. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out in the news. We've already had Mercury conjunct Uranus, and as I record, Mercury is still conjunct Uranus, and that's really bringing out all sorts of twists and turns in the news, in your own lives, and like, I didn't see that coming, or good God, have you heard about that? And that's interesting, and all those kind of topics. So Mercury rules Gemini. Use Gemini and Mercury in Gemini while it's there till at least the summer solstice, when the sun will move into Cancer. Use Gemini and all the planets that are there and this new moon to just take your time, sit back, Don't sit back on your laurels, but just kind of make those plans and keep notes and wait for the right time. Just, it's like we have to let go. It's like when I say, let go and let God. So let go and let the cosmos sort out the details. And then all shall be well. Thank you so much for coming to watch the new moon in Gemini. Remember to like, comment, please subscribe. And remember, if you would like to book a session with me, I'm just going to say this quickly. I do have, spaces still in June and in July. August, I'm taking off. I have limited spaces. When you go into the booking calendar, you will find there is only one time available if it hasn't been taken, because I'm really pacing myself. I am listening to Saturn in my own personal astrology and taking things slow. But if you are having trouble navigating the website or the booking calendar, just email me or personal message me and I will sort it out for you. Especially if you are in the Pacific region, the west coast of Canada, if you are in Asia, if you're in Australia, message me, because you will find that the one slot that's available, which is 4 o'clock in my afternoon, won't suit you. And I will find a time that is suitable for you earlier in the day, or whichever way we go with the time zone. So don't worry, you can still book a session with me and do it through me manually. Okay, I think that's all I need to say for now. So have a great Gemini season, and I will be back with a look at the summer solstice, of course, and I will look at each of your individual zodiac signs for the summer solstice. And of course, I will be back for the full moon in Capricorn, and I will be back every Sunday evening at 6 o'clock Central European time for my live week ahead. Jerry, take the chart down. I forgot it was there. Oh well, anyway, here we go. So take care, and thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.